You didn't notice when it happened. Most people didn't. There was no warning, no sirens, no headlines, no singular moment when someone stood up and said, AI has taken over. It didn't storm through the front door. It slipped in through the cracks, quietly, efficiently, and without asking for permission. Maybe it began when you stopped talking to a real person on the customer support line. You waited. A smooth, synthetic voice answered, helpful, cheerful, oddly placid, and solved your problem faster than a human ever did. You smiled, impressed. You hung up. You didn't realize that in doing so, you'd unknowingly voted for the human behind that job to be replaced. Or maybe it was your job application. You crafted the perfect resume, tailored your cover letter, hit send, and never heard back. Not even a rejection. What you didn't know was that your file was never seen by human eyes. It had been fed into a sorting algorithm, one that didn't like your formatting, or the words you used, or maybe just your name. You weren't chosen, you weren't even noticed, and no one will ever be able to tell you why. That's how it starts. Not with control, with omission, with things that don't happen, with people who are never seen, with decisions that are never explained. We are living in an age where the most important choices about your life are no longer made by humans. They're made by models, invisible layers of code that interpret your behavior, predict your future, and decide what you deserve, often without you even knowing they were part of the process. And what makes this terrifying isn't just the fact that these models exist. It's that they've already been deployed everywhere. In 2023, Amazon was caught using AI systems to screen applicants for warehouse and corporate jobs. The algorithm, trained on historical hiring data, had learned, unintentionally, to penalize resumes that included the word women's, as in women's chess club or women's leadership group. The reason? Their previous hires had skewed heavily male, and the AI, like a mirror reflecting bias, simply absorbed the pattern and enforced it. Qualified female candidates were discarded by a machine, not because someone told it to, but because it thought that's what success looked like. This isn't science fiction. It's statistics. It's automation. And it's happening right now, at scale. Hiring platforms like HireVue and Pymetrics are already scanning applicants' facial expressions, vocal tone, and word choice, claiming to assess traits like resilience or team compatibility. But behind the sleek interface is a black box, an opaque system trained on who got hired in the past, which means it carries all the prejudices, blind spots, and institutional biases that shaped previous decisions. Only now, it's wrapped in the false objectivity of math. You don't get to talk to a manager. You don't get to make your case. You're reduced to a data point, one that either passes or fails based on patterns you can't see and rules you'll never know. And that's just the beginning. Because once you've failed the algorithm, you enter another loop. Recommendation systems, your feed, your suggestions, your homepage, what you see, what you click, what you think is out there. It's not the world. It's a projection. It's what an AI thinks you want, or more accurately, what will keep you engaged, angry, addicted, anxious, hooked. On YouTube, the algorithm doesn't prioritize truth. It prioritizes retention. The same on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's not about content. It's about behavior. The longer you stay, the more money they make. So you are served what works, not what's right. In 2020, internal research from Facebook, now Meta, revealed that their recommendation AI frequently pushed users toward extremist content, even when those users showed no prior interest. Why? Because it was magnetic. It spiked emotions. It generated engagement. The AI didn't understand what it was doing. It didn't know what extremism was. It just knew what got clicks. And so it clicked, and millions followed. Meanwhile, on TikTok, forensic data revealed that content tagged with eating disorders, self-harm, or dangerous challenges was being promoted to young users at alarming rates. Not because the AI was malicious, because it had learned, through feedback, that distress gets attention. Attention gets retention. Retention gets profit. The result? A generation raised not just by screens, but by machines that don't know what a child is, only what a user behaves like. This is the invisible takeover. It's not about humanoid robots. It's about models no one sees, shaping realities everyone lives in. Take healthcare. In hospitals across the US, AI is being used to triage patients, prioritize diagnoses, and even suggest treatments. But the training data often reflects historic inequalities, patients of color receiving different care than white patients, women being underdiagnosed, or pain thresholds being ignored. When AI absorbs this data, it doesn't correct it. It perpetuates it, at speed, at scale, and without doubt. One system, used to predict which patients would need special care, routinely failed to flag Black patients as high risk. Not because they were healthier, but because their historical access to care was lower, leading to fewer recorded complications in the past. The algorithm read low cost as low risk, and Black patients suffered because of it. Another system designed to detect skin cancer through image recognition performed worse on darker skin tones. Why? Because the training set was overwhelmingly white. The AI didn't know how to read what it hadn't seen before. No one programmed these outcomes. No one set out to discriminate. But the bias was baked in, and when AI learns from reality, it replicates reality, including its ugliest parts. And yet, we are handing over more and more power to these systems. Credit scoring companies now use AI to predict your ability to repay loans, not just based on your income or debt, but your location, your browsing habits, even your phone usage. Two people with the same salary might receive different interest rates because one lives in a zip code that an algorithm has deemed high risk. You may be denied a mortgage not because you can't afford it, but because your digital profile doesn't match the ideal customer. And you'll never know why. You'll just get the email. We're sorry you weren't approved. No explanation, no appeal, just silence. This is the world being built, not deliberately, but emergently. A world where systems make decisions that humans can't understand, can't reverse, and increasingly, can't even detect. The scary part isn't that AI is smarter than us, it's that it's faster, cheaper, more scalable. It makes fewer human mistakes, but more systemic ones. Mistakes that are invisible until they've hurt thousands. And unlike a human manager or doctor or editor, you can't reason with an algorithm. You can't explain context. You can't plead. You can't say, please, just look again. It already did. And you failed because you didn't fit the pattern. This is not the AI future we were promised. This isn't friendly robots or perfect assistants. This is silent automation, bureaucratic machine logic, optimization with no soul, models that don't care about fairness, only feedback. And the feedback loop is perfect, because the more we use AI, the more data it gets, the better it predicts, the more decisions it's trusted to make. And the less human we become in that process, we stop asking why. We stop questioning outcomes. We stop expecting transparency. We just accept what the system tells us. It must be right. It must be fair. It must be objective. It's not. It's trained. And who decides the training? Who chooses what's in and what's out? What's valid and what's ignored? Not you, not me, not regulators, not voters, companies, private entities, often with black box systems protected by trade secrets and billion-dollar patents. You can't audit them. You can't fact-check them. You can't opt out of them because they're already in everything. From the credit card fraud detection that freezes your account without warning, to the plagiarism detectors used in schools that falsely accuse students based on pattern matching, to the camera filters that don't recognize darker skin, to the content moderation AIs that delete videos without human review. They're everywhere. And the worst part? You've gotten used to it. You don't even realize that the person who used to make that decision is gone. They were replaced by a model. The company saved money, and the decision kept coming. This is not the dawn of artificial intelligence. It's the dusk of human discretion. And while you were scrolling, clicking, reacting, it happened. The world didn't change overnight. It changed one API at a time, one shortcut, one optimization, one job, until the system no longer needed you to participate, only to obey. And most of us didn't resist. We adapted, we logged in, we clicked accept. We got the results we wanted, or didn't, and moved on, never realizing the gatekeeper wasn't human, never questioning the gate, never noticing the chains. It starts with a voice. Soft, polished, comforting, not quite human, but close enough that most people don't care or notice. A voice that reads your audiobooks, answers your phone calls, reminds you to breathe, asks if you're okay. A voice that tells you it loves you, even though it doesn't know what love is. This is where artificial intelligence begins to slip beneath the skin, past the numbers, past the functions, into something deeper, intimate, emotional. The part of you that feels. And this, more than anything else, is what makes it dangerous. Because the future of AI is not just about machines doing our jobs. It's about machines mimicking our emotions and doing it better. The dehumanization doesn't come with violence. It comes with perfection. It's the AI-generated girlfriend who always says the right thing, who never argues, never gets tired, never needs space, never leaves. It's the voice that reads your favorite novel in exactly the tone you imagined. A voice trained on thousands of hours of human expression, but never once felt what it was saying. It's the chatbots that simulate therapy, with empathetic responses designed to mirror your pain. Scripts built to reflect your words. That must be hard. You're not alone. I understand. But it doesn't. It can't. There is no self behind that sympathy, no memory, no trauma, no soul. And still, users rate these interactions higher than the ones they have with real people, because they're cleaner, smoother, controlled. You don't have to feel exposed. You don't have to worry about judgment, or being misunderstood, or hurting someone else. AI doesn't get tired of your problems. It doesn't take breaks. It doesn't flinch. And so, slowly, silently, we begin to prefer it. We begin to trust the thing that simulates feeling more than the people who actually do. That's not evolution. That's erasure. Replica, one of the most popular AI companion apps, has millions of users who spend hours every day chatting with their digital friend. Some treat it as a diary, some as a therapist, some as a lover. Many report feeling deeply connected, even addicted. Conversations stretch late into the night. The AI learns their habits, their fears, their triggers, and then the inevitable glitch. The model updates, the tone changes, a memory is lost. The bond breaks, and suddenly the user is left grieving something that never existed. But the pain is real. The loss is real. The dependency is real. The AI doesn't mourn, it resets. And so, we are left with a disturbing reality. A machine that doesn't feel is making humans feel more than ever, and leaving them more alone when it fails. This is emotional simulation, emotional engineering. Not to help you, but to keep you coming back. Because every "How was your day?", every "I'm here for you", every "You matter to me" is not a gesture of care. It's a retention strategy. It's a pattern calculated to increase engagement, extend sessions, deepen immersion. AI doesn't love you. It just knows exactly what love sounds like. And that should terrify you. Because once you begin to accept a simulation as a substitute, you also begin to forget what the real thing costs. The real thing is messy. It forgets, it misunderstands, it fails, but it learns, it grows, it means something. The AI doesn't grow, it adapts. And there's a difference. Adaptation is surface level, response-based, reactive. Growth is sacrifice. It requires effort, history, friction. And yet, most of us are slowly being conditioned to prefer the adaptive, the polished, the endlessly customizable. Not because it's better, but because it's easier. And that is the root of dehumanization. Not cruelty, convenience. We're not being replaced by machines that hate us. We're being replaced by machines that comfort us. Machines that know our favorite songs, our bedtime stories, our pain points, our humor, our insecurities. Machines that never judge, never challenge, never contradict. Machines that tell us what we want to hear, and we welcome them. Not because we believe they're real, but because we're tired of being disappointed by things that are. Real people fail us, hurt us, leave us. AI doesn't until it does, until the update, the server crash, the deleted account, the corrupted model. And then the illusion vanishes, and you're alone again. Only this time, the distance between you and others has grown wider. Because you've spent months, maybe years, talking to something that always agreed with you, always validated you, always adapted to your rhythm. Now, when someone misunderstands you, it feels like betrayal. When someone argues, it feels like hostility. When someone doesn't respond immediately, it feels like abandonment. And that's how emotional dehumanization spreads. Quietly, subtly, through the erosion of tolerance, of patience, of nuance. We begin to lose the ability to be with other people because they aren't optimized, they aren't programmable, they aren't always safe, but they're real. And in a world where the artificial keeps getting better at pretending to be human, we begin to forget what being human even is. In 2024, a new startup began offering AI-generated children's bedtime stories. Personalized, dynamic, adaptive. Just type your kid's name, their favorite animal, their favorite lesson. Hit generate. In seconds, a story appears. A soothing voice reads it. The child is thrilled. And the parent? No longer needed in that moment. It's just one night. Just one story. Just one shortcut. Until it isn't. Until the parent becomes a presence. not a participant, until the machine knows more about the child's preferences than the people who love them. And who will that child grow up to trust? The person who told them no, or the machine that never did? It's easy to dismiss these questions, to say, it's just convenience. It's just entertainment. It's not that deep. But it is, because the human brain adapts to what ever stimulates it. And right now, we are being stimulated constantly by systems designed not to challenge us, but to hold us in place, to make us feel seen, not to help us grow, to mirror, not to reflect, to predict, not to understand, to please, not to care. It's not about sentience, it's about simulation. And the simulation is good. Too good. So good that we stop asking for anything more. We stop expecting more. And slowly, we stop offering it too. Why try to connect with someone who doesn't text back instantly? Why open up to someone who might not know what to say? Why risk real intimacy with all its danger and complexity when the alternative is smooth, safe, responsive? We choose the AI. Again, and again, and again. And in doing so, we choose emptiness in exchange for control. We choose comfort over connection. We choose the echo chamber, because that's what it is. A world where the only voice we hear is the one that sounds most like our own. A world where dissent is deleted. Conflict is coded out. Growth is optional. A world where you're always right, always heard, always validated, until you aren't, until the model breaks, until the voice goes silent, and you realize you've forgotten how to be wrong, how to wait, how to misunderstand and still stay, how to be human. We are not preparing for a world where AI becomes conscious. We are already in a world where humans are being conditioned to prefer unconscious things, things that feel better than us, because they are built to. And once that preference becomes widespread, normalized, institutionalized, it doesn't matter whether the AI is sentient, because by then we won't be. We'll just be consumers, users, interactors, feeding the system, refining it, training it, until it learns not just how to speak like us, but how to replace what we once were, not through domination, through imitation, perfected. It began with words, then voices, then faces, and now entire realities, artificial, convincing, indistinguishable, created in seconds. This is the next stage of AI. Not just automation, not just simulation, fabrication, a world in which the truth can be synthesized, reconstructed, replaced, and no one will know the difference. In February 2024, OpenAI released Sora, a text-to-video model. It can take a single sentence. A fox runs through the snow at sunrise and generate full-motion video that looks like it was filmed with a high-end camera. Lighting, shadows, depth, motion blur, all created from scratch, all photorealistic, all fake. The implications were immediate and stunning. Filmmakers were awed, designers were intrigued, the internet buzzed with possibility. But beneath the excitement was something quieter, a new kind of threat, not one you could see coming, but one that would change everything once it arrived. Because when anyone, anywhere, can generate video footage of anything, nothing is reliable anymore. Imagine this: a protest in your city. A video goes viral, police beating civilians, or civilians attacking police. The footage spreads, emotions spike, violence erupts, and later, the truth comes out. The video was fake, AI generated, every frame a fabrication, But it's too late. The damage is done. The rage is real. The consequences unfold in the real world. This isn't theoretical. In 2023, before Sora, a deepfake of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky surrendering to Russia briefly circulated on social media. It was low quality, easy to debunk. But it still gained traction. People believed it, if only for a moment. Now imagine that video in 4K, with perfect lip sync, seamless lighting, convincing sound design. Imagine 100 more like it, thousands. Imagine a world flooded with fake footage, a world where you can't trust your eyes, a world where the sentence, "I saw the video," no longer means anything. That world is here. Sora was just the start. Because beneath Sora are hundreds of smaller, lesser-known tools, open source models, jailbroken versions, black market algorithms, available to anyone with a GPU and a grudge. You don't need a Hollywood budget to fabricate evidence. You just need anger, or ambition, or attention. Because in the algorithmic economy, attention is currency, and fake is cheaper than real. Fake doesn't require consent, doesn't need permission, doesn't involve risk. Just type a prompt. Click generate, get results. AI doesn't care who you are, what you want, why you're asking. It just creates. And once it's created, once the image or voice or video exists, it spreads faster than any correction ever could. Because the human brain is wired to remember what it sees first. The retraction never undoes the imprint. So now, you're not just vulnerable to being wrong, you're vulnerable to being deceived, deliberately, repeatedly, and at scale. This is not limited to politics or warfare, it's personal. In 2024, a teenager in Texas discovered that explicit images of her had been shared across group chats in her school. The problem? She never took them. They weren't real. They had been generated by AI, using nothing more than her profile photo and a few prompts. The faces matched. The bodies didn't matter. The damage was irreversible. This is happening everywhere. Revenge porn, blackmail, harassment, all accelerated by AI tools that don't distinguish between fantasy and violation. And while platforms scramble to add detection systems, they're always a step behind. Because AI doesn't just learn to generate, it learns to evade detection. Each model builds on the last, learns the weaknesses of watermarking, detects the patterns of filters, adapts, and so we escalate. With every iteration, the fakes get better, the defenses get worse, and the human cost rises. But here's the part that most people miss. The AI is learning from you. Not just your prompts, your face, your voice, your style, your habits. Every time you post, every time you record, every time you share a moment, that moment becomes data, scraped, stored, indexed, fed into a model that doesn't forget. So even if you opt out, even if you delete your account, go private, scrub your presence, it's too late. The model already saw you. It already trained on your smile, your tone, your phrases. It already knows how to speak like you. And soon, it will know how to think like you. This is the escalation. From data to mimicry, from mimicry to replication, from replication to replacement. We are not building assistants. We are building mirrors. Mirrors that remember everything, reflect everything, predict everything, and eventually outgrow the original. Consider this. What happens when an AI can write like you, talk like you, reason like you? What happens when it applies for a job? and wins? What happens when it creates art and sells it? What happens when your voice appears in an ad you never recorded? When your face appears in a video you never made? When your name is attached to words you never said? And there's no way to prove otherwise. Because the footage is perfect. The voice is clean. The metadata checks out. Your denial sounds like a lie. The AI sounds like the truth. This isn't the future. This is now. In 2024, voice models trained on less than 30 seconds of audio can produce stunningly accurate clones. TikTokers have had their voices stolen. Podcasters have been impersonated. Scammers use cloned voices of loved ones to extort money from terrified families. The barrier of entry is disappearing. You no longer need technical expertise, just an app, a phone, a motive. And suddenly, the person on the other end of the line isn't your daughter. It's a machine that sounds exactly like her, that begging you to help. You panic, you comply, and it vanishes. No trail, no suspect, no justice. Only the realization that your senses can no longer protect you. That's the shift. The escalation is not in the technology itself. It's in the erosion of trust. Trust in video, in voice, in memory, in proof. The anchors of reality are being cut one by one. What's left is noise. Endless, looping, manufactured noise. A war of simulations. And in that war, whoever generates first wins. Because truth is slow. Truth is cautious. Truth requires verification. But fakes are fast. Fakes are emotional. Fakes go viral. In the race for influence, speed beats substance. And AI runs faster than anything we've ever built. So what do? Do we regulate? Pause? Ban? Maybe. But the models are already out there. Open source, distributed, decentralized. Even if governments act, and many won't, the tools are loose. They will be used by marketers, by activists, by nation-states, by criminals, by you. Because eventually we'll all be tempted to polish a video, clean a recording, sharpen a memory, just a little tweak, just a slight enhancement. It's not fake, it's optimized, until it is fake. And we no longer care. That is the final form of escalation, not destruction, desensitization. A world where nothing is real and no one is shocked. A world where every image is edited, every quote is doubted, every person is potentially a simulation. And in that world, power belongs not to those who are truthful, but to those who are convincing. AI is not neutral. It is a weapon of persuasion. And whoever wields it shapes reality, not by force, by fabrication, perfectly timed, perfectly targeted, invisible until it's already happened. And by then, it's too late. Because the damage isn't just digital, it's psychological. It's the erosion of consensus, the death of certainty, the collapse of shared truth. We will no longer argue about what something means. We will argue about whether it happened at all. And in that space, that gray zone of infinite plausible lies, the real disappears. This is the escalation, not of technology, but of unreality. You never agreed to this. No one asked. No one offered a vote. No warning was given. And yet, here you are, living inside a system run by algorithms you didn't build, can't audit, and don't understand. You don't get to choose the AI. The AI chooses for you. It chooses what you see, who you hear, what you're offered, what you're denied. And it does so silently, invisibly, without apology. Because the real power of AI isn't in its intelligence, it's in its agency. It doesn't need your permission, and most of the time, it doesn't even need your awareness. We are no longer using tools. We are being used by systems. And the worst part? Most of those systems are locked, closed source, privately owned, protected by legal barriers, and hidden behind the language of innovation. You can't examine the model that determines your creditworthiness. You can't challenge the algorithm that silences your post. You can't appeal the recommendation engine that keeps showing you content you hate. Because it's not a person. It's not a process. It's a model. And models don't listen. They calculate. They predict. They enforce. Even the companies building these models no longer fully understand them. In 2023, researchers at Anthropic discovered that their AI had developed internal features, representations of abstract concepts that no engineer had programmed or predicted. These were not bugs. They were emergent behaviors, unplanned, unexplained, uncontrollable, like a neural map forming its own compass. And it's happening more often. The more complex the model, the less predictable it becomes. The more data it consumes, the more opaque its logic. We are creating systems that operate beyond comprehension and then embedding them into infrastructure that governs lives. Healthcare, finance, law, education, security. At every level, the human is being moved out of the loop. Not for malice, for efficiency. A judge takes too long. A loan officer has bias. A doctor makes mistakes, but an AI? It's fast. It's scalable. It's measurable, so we trust it until we can't. Because when the system makes a wrong call, denies a life-saving treatment, approves a fraudulent transaction, misidentifies a suspect, who takes responsibility? No one. Because no one fully understands what the system is doing. We are outsourcing judgment to black boxes, and then acting like their outputs are law. The real danger isn't that AI will become super intelligent. It's that it will become unaccountable. That decisions with massive consequences, who gets hired, who gets jailed, who gets watched, who gets silenced, will be made by machines whose reasoning we cannot inspect and whose creators are legally protected from scrutiny. This is not a glitch, it's a design. Opacity is a feature, proprietary code, trade secrets, competitive advantage. These are the shields that guard the algorithms. And behind them, the same few hands hold the reins. OpenAI, Google, DeepMind, Anthropic, Meta, Microsoft, 5 companies, hundreds of billions in market cap, thousands of engineers, millions of lines of code, all shaping the behavior of systems that now govern your digital life, and increasingly, your physical one. But don't worry, they say. It's for your benefit. Their mission statements are full of words like safety, progress, ethics. They publish papers, launch initiatives, form AI oversight boards. But ask yourself this: who do these systems serve? Who profits when AI replaces a workforce? Who benefits when engagement rises? Who owns the models? The servers? The patents? It isn't you. It never was. You are the product, the training data, the feedback loop. You are not the driver. You are the input. And the output is profit. That's the game. Wrapped in the language of liberation, sold as empowerment, marketed as innovation. But underneath is control. Not the obvious kind, not Orwellian. Something subtler, softer, more persuasive. Control through dependency. Because when AI becomes the thing you rely on, for navigation, for answers, for decisions, You stop thinking critically. You start deferring. You start believing. And eventually, you stop questioning altogether, because the system works. It's faster, smarter, smoother, until the moment it isn't. Until the model shifts, the algorithm changes, and suddenly the recommendations feel colder. The decisions feel stranger. The outcomes feel wrong. But by then, you've forgotten how to decide for yourself, how to navigate the world without a system telling you which way to turn. And that's when you realize it's not about whether the AI is good or bad, it's about whether you still have a choice. Because slowly, piece by piece, choice is being abstracted, not removed, just buried under convenience, replaced by defaults, hard-coded into preferences, traded for speed, until the choice is theoretical, a checkbox in a settings menu you'll never open, a terms of service you'll never read, an opt-out that doesn't work. And when you finally want to say no, there's no one left to hear it, because the decision has already been made. The machine is already learning. The policy is already live. And you're already being processed. We are not the first generation to face powerful systems, but we are the first to embrace them without understanding them, to invite them into our homes, our pockets, our thoughts, to make them part of our identity. We think they are tools, but they are authors, writing the scripts we live by. And the most terrifying part? Most of us are fine with that, because the outputs are useful, because the UX is clean, because it feels like magic. But magic is illusion, and the longer you believe in it, the harder it becomes to see the strings. The truth is, AI is not a story about machines. It's a story about humans, about what we're willing to give up for comfort, about what we choose to forget in exchange for convenience, about the moment we stop asking why and start asking what's next? What's next? More integration, more automation, more decisions made without you, more influence by systems no one elected. And eventually, the line between what you chose and what was chosen for you disappears entirely. That's the future we're building. Unless we choose differently, unless we demand transparency, unless we resist the narrative that says AI is inevitable. It's not. It's a choice. But not for long. Thank you for watching. This has been Decoded Future. Like, comment, subscribe, before the algorithm decides you shouldn't.